Whether you're a first-time salmon fisherman or a seasoned veteran, in this video I'm going to go over the basics on a spinning rod and reel setup for salmon fishing. This gear is affordable and well stocked in most sporting goods stores. Let's get started.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
We're going to talk about rod length and why it's so important for salmon season. These are in no particular order, but here we go with the first one. Noodle rods are very sensitive to bites and takes. It's amplified along the length of the rod. The longer the rod, the more you're going to feel each individual hit and take on your fish. Long rods are also an excellent source of side pressure when fighting fish. It's easy to play the fish one way or another and really tire them out quickly and efficiently with a long fishing pole. The next one here is also related to fighting fish. Long rods are very easy to navigate around large obstructions such as rocks, trees, and anything else that might get in your way when fighting a fish. You just simply pop the fish around whatever you're trying to get and then continue walking downstream or upstream with your fish until you finally land it. Longer rods allow you to take quick and effective casts without even reeling in after each cast. This is just like Euro nymphing, and you can cover a lot of water in a short amount of time doing this method. And finally, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get these pulls. With me here today, I got two different pulls. This is the rod that I've used all last season. It's an Eagle Claw EC 2.5. It's a 10.5 foot medium light action rod. It's excellent for fighting salmon, and it has been field tested by me the last year. This package with the Fluger President XT reel cost me about $150 in total. I also have this 9.5 foot Okama Avion. It's a 9.5 foot noodle rod, also medium light action. This cost me less than $100. Before you go rushing to shop for one of these rods, I ask that you stay for the next part of the video. I'm going to go over the reels that would go great with these rods and what I've used in the past. Now I'm going to go into the size of the reels you should consider using. Salmon fishing is difficult because you have relatively heavy line, but also need a large amount of line in case they start running on you. I've found that if you have at least 100 yards of line on your reel, you'll be good in most scenarios. These charts here show the line specs for my Fluger President XT 40. Other 40 or 4000 series reels should do the trick as well. Note, when looking at how much braid your spool can hold, it shows the pound test of an equal diameter mono. What you buy in the store will actually be a lot less than this, but braid is strong like that. You can pause here if you want to look at how much braid your line should be able to hold on your 40 series reel, and then after this you can look at the equivalent chart for monofilament. These numbers are pulled from Fluger's website directly. As stated earlier, the numbers here are shown an equivalent diameter of monofilament to braid. The actual numbers you buy at the store are going to be on the screen now. My recommendation for braid is to go about 20 pound tests, and according to this chart you're going to get about 200 yards on your 40 reel. Once again here, you're going to have to get at least 100 yards on your reel, and with this, you're going to want about 20 pound monofilament if you do choose to use mono for your salmon fishing rig. Next, I'll be going over the 17 pound test copolymer line that I use for my salmon rig and compare it to braid and monofilament. If you do end up choosing this type of line, you'll want to go in between braided and mono in terms of the chart I showed in this video. Alright, we just briefly covered different line types, but let's dig into it a little deeper. For more instructional salmon fishing content, please check out the channel here. If you like it, hit the subscribe button so YouTube can recommend other videos for you. It's completely free, and it helps the channel out a lot. We're going to discuss type of lines we're going to use in those reels. Now there's a ton of information on fishing line out there, so if you want to know more, I would highly recommend doing some research deep in the forums, your favorite internet browser. In years past, the most popular line for salmon fishing has been braid. The pros and cons that I'm about to go over for both types of fishing line are strictly what I've experienced. Other anglers may experience different things, and it's really just up to you to get out and try what you think works best. First, let's go over the most important pro with braided line, and that's its thin diameter per inch strength. Braid is really thin and allows you to put a lot of it on your reel, which is a huge benefit when salmon fishing. Even with its thin diameter, braid is one of the strongest lines out there. Even with its thin diameter, braid is one of the strongest lines out there. However, the biggest con with braided line
me about that, baby.
However, its biggest con is that it easily frays. Even with its thin diameter, braid is one of the strongest lines out there. However, its biggest con is that it easily frays and then cuts on rocks, tree limbs, or anything else that it gets caught on in the water. This is particularly prevalent when you have a running fish that's going up and down or back and forth in the water. So if you're fishing open waters with little to no obstruction, then braided line is probably the best choice for you. But if you're fishing for spawning salmon in small creeks or rivers, then chances are you're going to run into protruding rocks, submerged logs, or tree limbs, or anything like that, and you're probably going to want to consider this next choice. After doing some research, I found a small but growing community of anglers who use copolymer line. After doing some testing myself last season, I'm going to be sticking with copolymer line until I find something newer or better. You may have seen throughout this video the footage of a fish completely wrapping me around a tree branch and continuing to run. After inspecting the damage, I quickly realized the fish was still on and swimming upstream fast. In my experience, copolymer has proven to be strong even when grinding against rocks. Copolymer is thinner than mono, but not as thin as braid, but it's still very strong. In my last video, the reel I covered, I could get about 150 yards of 17-pound test copolymer on it. A drawback to copolymer line is its longevity. You have to get fresh line every fishing season or it will lose its effectiveness. This will cause you to spend more money on line depending on how many seasons you fish each year. From what I can find online, the most recommended copolymer line is P-Line CXX Extra Strong, in either crystal clear or moss green. I would not recommend purchasing the large spools due to the fact that you'll need to replace it well before you can use it all. If you're going to get some, get the filler spools shown here. It's about 300 yards and it's plenty enough for you and a friend to use the whole season. Another strong copolymer alternative that I've tested is the widely available Suffix Advance. It says it's a monofilament, but it's actually a copolymer, and it's shown here and in the description below. If you're still unsure about what to get, check out the forums. There are a lot of fishermen and women out there who have provided a lot of data on fishing line already, or leave a comment below and I'll answer any questions you guys might have. Copolymer line has never failed me, but don't take my word for it. Go try it yourself and let me know in the comments below. But don't forget, you have to keep it fresh every year.
We'll be discussing how to get back in the water fast after breaking off. We'll also be going over very important checks you need to be making throughout the day. Here in New York, your leader can't be more than 4 feet long. Knowing this information, we can be more prepared even before leaving our truck. Using Ziploc bags, or even better, old hook containers, we can make pre-made leader wallets that'll get us out in the water even faster. I save all my hook bags for this very reason and keep about 5 to 10 in my bag at all times for friends to share with. Be sure to reload these each night so you don't get unprepared the next day. It's also important to replace old leader wallets every year. I replace mine each season with a 50-yard spool. My leader of choice is 12-pound Berkeley Vanish fluorocarbon line. There's plenty of great fluorocarbons out there, so follow your heart with those. Don't buy large spools because, like I said, you're going to need to replace them frequently, so go as short as you can. You're not going to need more than 50 yards every year. Finally, it's imperative that you're frequently checking your line for nicks, small wind knots, and other abrasions. If you see any of those, replace it right away. Even if you know there's a fish in front of you, if you hook into that fish, chances are you're going to break off and you're going to be more disappointed in yourself then. Trust me. Taking the extra 2 minutes is really worth it here.
If you've made it this far into the video, thank you. But let me know in the comments with hashtag salmon fishing if you made it this far. But if you have the time, don't leave yet. We got one more thing to cover, and that's the hooks.
Now we just got to get out there and get some hooks. When fishing for big fish, whether it's salmon or not, it's important to have a few things and characteristics in your hook. The most obvious one is probably the strength of the hook. Then you need one that's effective and versatile as well, so that you can catch multiple species. One of the best things about these hooks is you don't have to go 100 miles to the nearest mom and pop fly shop to get these hooks. You can get them at just about any store that sells hooks, including Walmart. I'm talking about the Gamakatsu octopus hooks. Now I can't guarantee that this won't happen to you, but in my experience I've never seen one of these hooks get straightened out or bent beyond usability. These hooks have a nice bend in the back that are great for setting hooks right side of the mouth of these salmon. The octopus models have a great shape to them that are perfect for tying your own flies or using it for skein or salmon eggs if you're into that. My recommendation on the size of these hooks depends on your local fisheries laws. Here in New York you cannot have a hook gap that's larger than 1.5 inch. So the largest size that you can use is size 2 of these Gamakatsu octopus hooks. So pending your local fisheries, I would recommend sizes 4 through 8 with this specific hook.
Now get out there and get yourself some gear, you deserve it. Or if you already have it, check out this 2-minute video on how to fight these beasts. Fish on.